Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I'm bringing to you 10 Indian series recommendations. I know that we don't read as many Indian book series as we do international ones. I'm trying to read as many as I can so that I can recommend you some really good Indian series to you guys. So this video will be part 1 in the Indian series book recommendations that I'm doing. I will do some in the future also, but I don't know when. Having said that, without any further ado, let's get into the various series that I want to recommend to you today. The first series that I'm recommending is something that is translated from Tamil to English, and it is One Part Women by Perumal Murugan, which is a trilogy translated from Tamil to English by Anuruddhan Vasudevan. The three books inside the series are One Part Women, A Lonely Harvest, and Trial by Silence. This series happens just before the independence of India, and it happens in a fictitious small village inside Tamil Nadu. We follow the story of a couple named Kali and Punna, and both of them have been married for over 10 years now. The problem that they are facing is they don't have any issues, and because of the fact that there is no one as a baby for them to take care of, they are ridiculed by the society continuously. The thing which keeps both of them together is the love that Punna has for Kali and Kali has for Punna. Starting from the problems that are happening between both Kali and Punna, as well as the things that they face inside the society because of the lack of a child. Every problem that we see inside the series is imposed by the society. We also get a really good proper representation of Tamil culture inside the series. Since the series is originally written in Tamil and then translated into English, we can see that the culture of the region, which is my region, is properly represented here. There are various different types of rituals and practices that are followed by different groups of people inside the state, and this book embraces certain rituals and traditions that are practiced across different regions inside the state, inside this fictitious village. Both the characters whom we see here are amazing, and what are the kinds of decisions that they take because of the societal pressures that they experience is what we see inside the series. Another special thing about the series is you should read the first book first, but you can read the second and third books in either order. That is, you can read book 2 first or book 3 first as per your own choice. This is because there is an ending of book 1, and based on whether it happens or not, the story continues in two different ways in books 2 and 3. I cannot reveal what the thing that happens towards the end of the book is because it will spoil the series for you. But once you finish reading the first book, you can rest assured that you can either leave the series here itself with book 1, or you can read either book 2 or book 3 as per your choice. The next two series are probably the most popular series inside our country, and both of them are by a single author. These are both mythological fiction series, of which the first one is The Immortals of Meluha by Amish. So in The Immortals of Meluha, we basically see the story between Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati as Sati. What all has happened in both of their lives is fictitiously shown for us inside the series, and one thing which you have to keep in mind while you are reading this trilogy is that you have to see Lord Shiva as a human being and not as the god he is, because the story is written in such a way. All the gods whom we worship and know about in our country inside the Hindu religion as main deities are brought inside the series, and the way in which the author has written them is as human beings and not as gods. How the story could have happened for them all those millennia back is what we see here. The best part about the series, if you ask me, is the practical approach that the author has taken towards the story. Since he is showing all the gods as human beings, he cannot show them to us as the powerful beings that we know, right? They must have limitations, they must not be able to do certain things, and all those things are really well written by the author here. It is kind of like a sequel to the Ramchandra series, which I'm going to recommend next inside this video. I'd say you to go forward and start with this series because since it has only 3 books, you can get a really good taste of what the author's writing is like. And trust me, once you finish reading book 1 itself, you will want to go forward and read books 2 and 3 because the writing of the author here is just excellent. I think that's one of the main reasons why Amish Tripadi's books are going international compared to all other Indian authors that we have here in our country. He does thorough research and presents them to us in a proper way without disrespecting anyone else's religion or beliefs in a very palatable manner. Even his writing is very simple to understand. It is not difficult at all. It also remains politically right always, which is very difficult to do, especially when it comes to writing mythological fiction stories. So because of all these reasons, I'm recommending the Shiva trilogy, which starts with The Immortals of Meluha. As I said before, the next series that I'm recommending is also by Amish Tripathi, and it is the Ramchandra series. The first book is Ram, Sign of Ikshvaku. The second one is Sita, Warrior of Mithila. The third is Ravan, Enemy of Aryavarta. And the last published book so far, which is War of Lanka. We have yet another book to be published inside the series, and I don't think we'll be getting it at least until the end of next year. So the Ramchandra series is basically just the retelling of the Ramayana. And here also, the author goes forward and shows us the gods whom we worship as human beings, and he treats them with the complete respect that they deserve. One thing alone which I did not like about the series is the way in which Ravana have been depicted in his own book. In War of Lanka, he's made much better, but inside Ravan, it just feels like the author compels us to accept that Ravana is a bad person. It's not just the circumstances which make him to be so. But as a whole, the series is also just as good as the Immortals of Meluha. But one thing which I felt odd about the series is that the tone of each and every book just goes on with the tone of the main character whom we follow inside the book. For example, in Ram's Sign of Ikshvaku, we see the Ramayana story until the abduction of Sita, but keeping Rama as the main character. And in Sita, we have Sita as the main character, and Ravan, we have Ravana as the main character. You can read all these three books in any order, but books 4 and 5 should be read as 4th and 5th books only. You cannot read them before, because all these three books are parallelly happening, if you ask me. In my personal opinion, the first book, Ram, is bland. The second book, Sita, is extremely amazing. From there, we drop a little bit down in Ravan, and in War of Lanka, it gets above again. I know that there are so many people who did not like War of Lanka, but I personally loved that book very much because we have seen the Ramayana narrated in so many different ways in so many different kinds of media. But I don't think anyone has taken a really proper and practical approach for the Ramayana than Amish Tripathi has done with this series. We all worship the gods because they are wise. They know what to do and what not to do, and they have taught us the ways to live, right? If that's the way that they lived, I think the war at Lanka would have happened in the way by which Amish has written it inside his series. There are different versions of the history, I know for sure, but I prefer this version compared to the others because I think it is even more empowering for the current world. If you are someone who likes books which talk a lot about morality and mortality, you should definitely read the Ramchandra series by Amish Tripathi. The next one is an amazing thriller series that is written inside our country. I'm just saying that it's thriller, but it is truly a blend of so many different genres like thriller, mystery, mythology, mythological fiction, science fiction, and so much more, even literary fiction also. And this, the Bharat series by Ashwin Sanghi. There are 8 books published in the series so far, and I've not read the latest release alone, which is the Ayodhya Alliance, which just got released almost a month back, but I'm sure that I'll be reading that before the end of 2025. So the other 7 books inside the series are The Rosable Line, Chanakya's Stand, The Seal Code Saga, The Vault of Vishnu, The Krishna Key, Keepers of the Kala Chakra, and The Magicians of Mazda. I'm not going to go forward and explain the plot of each and every one of the books for you inside the series because they are all completely different. And the best part about the series is there is no order to it. Okay, you can read any book in any order that you like, but all of them will have the same kind of tone. Now, personally for me, it feels like Ashwin Sanghi is the Dan Brown that we have inside our country, and he writes just as equally good as Dan Brown does. Dan Brown has the style in which he talks about different pieces of the story as different bits here and there, and towards the end, everything just comes colliding together and hits us very hard, right? The same exact thing happens with Ashwin Sanghi also. His books are so thoroughly researched. While I'm reading these books, I just feel like how is a person able to write this much material based on different knowledge and history from the world and make it this much believable. They are all high stakes, they are all super fast paced, they have so much action and violence in them, they are all extremely dark, and more than that, all of them, each and every one of them are that well written. I can't wait to read the Ayodhya Alliance by him this year as soon as I can because each and every one of the other 7 books that I've read inside the series are just great. Few of them have been like, 3.0 or 4 star books for me, but it's a very, very solid series. If you're a beginner, if you're someone who has read a lot of books, it doesn't matter. I think Ashwin Sanghi's books can suffice the hunger and thirst that each and every reader has. I prefer the older editions of these books compared to the latest ones which have been published, but I'll definitely get physical copies of this entire series and have them on my shelf because the series is just great. And if you have not read this, you are missing out huge on something. Next, we have a series that is suitable for all age ranges because it's about a dog called the Gopi series by Sudha Murty. It's a collection of 4 books published so far, and all of them are illustrated books. So inside the series, the author Sudha Murty talks about her dog Gopi and all the things that have happened in his life as fictitious stories inside the 4 books published so far. Along with the things that have happened in Gopi's life itself, the author also goes forward and adds a lot of fictitious tales inside the book. There's also a huge amount of social commentary when it comes to taking care of animals and animal protection organizations that has been done really well by the author here. If you're a dog person and if you've not read the Gopi diaries, trust me, again you're missing out on something huge. I did not read both the Bharat series as well as the Gopi diaries until April and March this year, and only after reading them I was able to understand that I had missed on something very, very huge for so many days. The Bharat series, once you start reading, you'll not be able to put down and you'll finish it in no time. And the Gopi diaries, trust me, you can read all these 4 books in like 2 to 3 years max because they're all tiny books, but they just fill your heart with so much joy and warmth. If you're feeling low, this is definitely one series you need to go and try. I can assure you, you'll not be disappointed at all in any way if you're a dog person. Next, we have an Indian romance duology, okay? And this is a kind of painful, sad romance compared to happy, joyful romance. And I know that many people like painful romance compared to joyful ones for some reason, I don't know. And it is The Boy Who Loved series by Durjoy Datta. There are 2 books published so far, which are The Boy Who Loved and The Boy with a Broken Heart. There is definitely at least one more book to be published inside the series, but it's been so long since the second book was published, so you can go forward and read the 2 books now itself. Both of these are really, really addictively written. The writing is so simple that anyone who reads the series can understand the books very, very easily. And in book 1, we follow our main character, Raghu, who falls in love with this girl named Rami in his high school. And what all happens between Rami and Raghu is what we see in book 1. And in book 2, we see the same character, Raghu, but with another girl. And there we see a beautiful friendship developing between him and that girl. And it's not a romance there. The romance exists inside that book, but it is not between the two main characters whom we follow there. I like both of these two books equally because they deal with so many things that are actually happening in the real world, represented as such to these characters as new adults or teenagers itself. The writing of the author is so simple to read. Even if you're a beginner, you can definitely go forward and read the series, but just keep in mind that both of these books are sad, okay? The second one is a little bit hopeful, but the larger tone of the series is sad. If you're feeling depressed or low in some way, don't read it. But if you're okay in your mind and if you're fine with reading a story which is sad and you going into it knowing that it's sad, you can definitely go forward and try it. I've read one or two other books by Durjoy Datta also, but except the series, I don't like his other books and I'm not interested in reading any of them at all. But I cannot go without saying that both of these books are really well written and they're very addictive to read. So yeah, just go forward and give them a try. Since I recommended to you a sad romance series, I also want to recommend to you a very happy, sweet and joyful romance series also, and it is When Love Came Calling by Preeti Shenoy. There are 2 books published in the series so far and you can just be done with the 2 books. You need not even read the second book if you ask me, but I can see that there are going to be more books inside the series. We don't know. And this is a new adult series, okay? So if you are 16 and above, you can definitely go forward and read it. It is very, very sweet. So we follow our 2 main characters, Pooja and Arush. Pooja lives in Kerala and Arush is from the UK. Now both of them meet in this small volunteer camp in Wayanad because Arush has come from UK as part of a art degree that he's doing and to do some assignments here. So he selects Wayanad to be the place where he does it. Parallelly, what happens is Pooja is sent by her mother. She is basically forced by her mother to go forward and attend this volunteer camp in Wayanad. Both of them meet there and from then on, an attraction just sparks between the 2 of them and it is very, very beautifully shown. Okay, it's practical. It's not insta love in any way. The relationship that they both form is so pure, so beautiful and so sweet. When you're reading these books, you'll just feel like it will be great to see these as movies on screen. I think Netflix will do a great job of making these books into limited series, okay, because it just feels so good. As I said before, since both of these people are from different places, Pooja is in India and Arush is in UK. After that volunteer camp where they are living in right now, they'll get separated and they'll have to make it work long distance somehow. Whether they are able to do it or not, what are they doing? Is this attraction that they feel for each other even love is all that we see here. It gets a bit serious here and there, but as a whole, it's such a sweet and lovely story. It's very practical. It is suitable to be read by people of all ages, okay? If you're 15, 16 and above, you can definitely go forward and read it. I'd suggest it to not be read by people who are younger than 15 because I don't think you'll get the correct feels that you'll get if you read after you're that age. I read this when I was 26, okay? And trust me, it's definitely one of the best series that I've read so far, especially in romance. It has zero spice, but it will keep you hooked the whole time because the story and the characters are that good. I also have a dedicated review for this first book alone. Its sequel is all the love you deserve. If I have reviews for any of the other books that I've talked about in the video, all of them will be linked in the description. If you want to know more in specific about those books, you can definitely go forward and check them out. Next, we have a new adult Indian fantasy series, The Epic of Kautilya by Deepak Thomas. In the series, we follow our main character Kautilya, who's the princess of this ancient version of India called Bharat. And along with her, she has 5 brothers who are born with her because of a sacrifice that the king made. The sacrifice works in such a way that all of these 6 children are blessed with some kinds of magical abilities, and all of these magical abilities are based on some natural traits that some of the birds have. So the power that Kautilya has is that of a parrot, because of which she's very intelligent. At the same time, she can memorize stuff very, very easily. Her 5 brothers have the traits and characteristics from different birds of prey, hence they are called the raptors. Because of some things that happen, Kautilya has to go forward and claim her right for the throne. How she does that and whether she gets the throne or not is what we see inside this first book. There are only 2 books published inside the series so far. The sequel is Bay of the Rakshasa. In both of these books, we follow different characters. In book 1, it is Kautilya, and in second book, we follow our main character named Adi, who's a Rakshasa himself. Both of the stories are different from each other, but in order to read book 2, you will have to read book 1, even though they are not directly linked with each other. The world building inside the series is great, and the kind of magic that the author gives for all the characters here is amazing. Just because it's Indian-inspired fantasy doesn't make that you reads the story as another retelling of the Ramayana or Mahabharata in any way. It is completely different. It has its own history and its own timeline. The world building is just magnificent, and the characters are really practical and lifelike. It's also very beginner friendly to read. So if you're like 8 or 9 and over in age, you can definitely go forward and read the series. It is suitable for people of all age ranges. I read this year only, just a couple months back, and I enjoyed both the books that I've published so far inside the series equally. The last 2 series are by a single author, who's Preeti Shenoy again. First, I introduced you to a romance series by the author. Then these next 2 series are literary fiction and contemporary, and they can be categorized into any genre if you ask me. Of these, the first one is A Place Called Home by Preeti Shenoy, and its sequel, The Homecoming. The Homecoming was just released last year during the end of the year, and in this series we follow our main character Alka, who lived in New Delhi with her mother, and her mother was this housemaid in the house of this lady named Mrs. Shetty, who's a very wealthy woman. The only advantage that Alka has in her childhood is that she gets to go to the same school as the daughter of her mother's employer, and because of this, Alka makes proper use of her education because she is very smart and intelligent. Because of some things that happen, after Alka does her undergraduation degree, she goes to Bangalore in order to pursue her higher studies, and from there she decides certain things and her life takes multiple turns. Along this way, Alka also ends up losing her mother to death, because of which she becomes completely aloof. The love that Alka finds in her life also ends up scarring her very deeply, and how she deals with it and some of the decisions that she makes because of that scar, which makes her life both better and worse in multiple ways, is what we see here. This is the only series by Preeti Shenoy which I feel like I don't agree with everything that the author is doing inside the series, but also makes me feel like there are two parts of my brain which are parallelly acting against each other, because some of the things that happen inside the series and some of the things that the character does are something which I'm completely against. At the same time, there's another part of my brain which keeps on saying that, but that's the only thing that the character might have done given the circumstances during that instant. More than everything, if you're a coffee lover, you definitely need to read this trilogy because it is dedicated to coffee lovers itself by the author. It is very atmospheric. The characters are extremely well written. The main character in specific is someone who feels like a real life person and not just a character inside a book. Her story is amazing. It's not a bed of roses. It's not completely sad either. It is very pragmatic, very realistic, and it's definitely a huge life that she has lived so far. Again, this series feels like it is not done yet, and we'll get more books in the future also, but nothing has been officially been announced by the author. I'm just crossing my fingers and hope that we get more books inside the series because it is much more different from the other books that are written by the author. Just go forward and give it a try. The last series that I'm recommending to you today is Life is What You Make It, and its sequel, Wake Up Life is Calling, by the same author Preeti Shenoy again. In this series, we follow the life story of our main character Ankita, who's a very smart and intelligent student. And after she gets into college, she's diagnosed with a mental illness, and it is bipolar disorder. How this illness goes forward and changes Ankita's life forever is what we see inside this book. It is very bad in the beginning, how it affects her, and later on we get to see Ankita figuring out her own life along with her as we read the series. Both of the books are very motivational, and how Ankita navigates her own life makes us understand that it's always possible to live the complete life that we want, no matter what cards we are dealt with. It takes a lot of perseverance, courage, and continuous hard work to reach the places that we want to reach. And at the same time, it's not like all that we plan for life can come into fruition very easily also. It's a very motivational read, and the books are very tiny, so you can just read them very fast. I remember I read both of these books back to back in just 2 days because they are that well written. Especially the representation of mental health in terms of bipolar disorder inside the series is just extremely well done by the author. If you want a series which is perfect for beginners but has much more than any basic story, you should definitely try this one by Preeti Shenoy. So yes guys, those are all the 10 Indian series which I wanted to recommend to you today. If you've read any of these series, please do let me know down in the comments your opinions of them so that we can discuss further on them. And if you have any other Indian series that you would like to recommend, please do let me know that also down in the comments. I already have some as recommendations from you guys, and I'll try to read them as soon as I can. If you did find this video useful and enjoyable, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.